What's up, people? Thanks for tuning into PuptMstrFPV. I haven't done one of these videos in a long time. I'm not quite sure why. It's not that I don't mind talking to the camera. In fact, I kind of enjoy it. I'm trying to get better focus here. Lighting's really poor right now. I'm driving home. It's 8:22. It's still light. You know, it's twilight. Whatever. So the things I wanted to talk about in the FPV world would be, I can't tell. You know, it's like I can see where Mr. Steele is coming from when he wants people to get into it to start with a 5-inch quad. I don't agree with that premise, but once you do start flying that 5-inch, I think I learned more about the hobby from flying that quad than in any of the other quads I've flown. The closest one to it being the Vortex, which is out of commission right now. So yeah, if you notice that, I mean, for about 5 months straight, I posted Vortex 150 videos almost every day. I attached things to it that I had no business putting on there. I put a GoPro Hero, and flew it really good actually and then started getting a little ragged out, so I stopped putting that up on there. And I put a Foxeer Legend 2, and that works pretty well, a lot better up there because it's a lot lighter of an HD camera, and it has a better form factor. For those wondering, you know, it's a toss-up. You can go for the Runcam 2, Runcam 2, or the Foxeer Legend 2, but like for me, I don't see the cost effectiveness of buying a $300 or $400 HD camera and then mounting it on a mini quad that you're almost guaranteed to crash and destroy. Now, if you get the protection plan, yeah, they'll replace it for how many every, a year or two, and that's great. And if you are going to get the expensive GoPro, I really suggest you don't get it without that protection plan and put it on a quad. I mean, you're just asking to destroy your camera. But for me, the cost effectiveness of a $70 or $80 camera that can do 2.7K good and 30 frames per second, the Foxeer Legend 2 does Ultra HD, which isn't 4K, but it's above 2.7, and in either 24 or 30 frames. It does Ultra HD, which is one step up above 2.7, I believe. It is 2.7K in 30 frames. It does 1080p, which is my favorite. That's what I record now exclusively, and I was in the past, especially as a wing pilot, I was doing a lot of 720p at 60 frames, because to me that was good enough resolution, especially if you're in a wing that's going almost 100 miles an hour. But I've bumped that up to 1080 and 30 frames per second, or I'm actually get the same file size, or maybe even a little smaller than a 720 and 60. So that's great. Now, I could do 1080 at 60, and I do that sometimes. That's the maxing out the camera. But I like to download wirelessly to my phone a lot. That's the only way I can get those videos on my phone. There's a great app, and it's free, and you just download it, and it really makes moving photos and videos from the camera to your phone easy, even large files. I'll take a 3-minute video in 1080p, 30 frames per second. You know, that's almost half a gig worth of digital video, and I'm able to transfer that to my phone in 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, that's incredible. It has a Wi-Fi built in, and it just goes onto your phone. So for me, that has really been a great camera. And any Jello that I have got was definitely from the quad. As I see my Theory XL, I've been flying. That's my favorite thing in the universe right now, so I fly it every day. And I've never mounted the GoPro on it. I could easily, but the way the receiver antennas are in the front, it's perfect for the form factor of a Runcam 2 or a Foxeer Legend 2. At most a GoPro session, because it's not set up really to hold the Hero up there. So unless you put some funky mount, and then it's so non-aerodynamic. It's like you're flying with this giant heavy square in front of your craft. It's not into it. Foxeer Legend 2 is it was designed to be there. I mean, it fits perfectly in between the receiver antennas, right on top of the frame, on the top plate, like it was designed to be there. I mean, there's a strap pulls right there. You just run the little Foxeer straps that the camera comes with through it, and boom, you're mounted. Oh, you won't have a camera pitch though, so what you do is you take the really hard kind of compressed foam, the nice foam that they send to you in the camera, and go get an X-Acto knife or even just a pair of scissors and cut yourself out a rectangle, and then cut another smaller rectangle and put it below it, glue it or tape it, however you wanted to get it mounted so they're stuck together, and that's going to be your camera mount. So then you just slide your camera in on the top plate, and it's got a 35 to 40 degree angle right there. You didn't have to spend a dime. You just bought the camera, used some of the foam it came with, and put it up there. And that foam is absolutely fantastic for dampening and anti-jello. So if you have your quad tuned properly, see, right out of the box it came tuned pretty nice, but I noticed after weeks of flying it that there was more jello in the camera, and it flew like a truck. I mean, the basic tune is great, but Blade seems to dial everything back for the beginner to intermediate. Nothing's cut. That's why it's like beginner, but it's like race bind and fly. Well, what the fuck is beginner? It's because that's the tune that's going to come with it. It's not like a Vortex that has some crazy pro tune from Final Glide loaded onto it. So it flies really good out of the box, but you will have to go into beta flight, and I recommend, everybody doesn't have to do it this way, but I recommend that you reflash your board, which is, you're going to have some knowledge of what you're doing now. Don't just go reflash the board if you have no clue what you're doing. Just use whatever's flashed on there and adjust the PIDs that way. But if you know what you're doing, reflash the board. Also download the BL Heli configurator or BL Heli Suite, either one. The ESCs that come with it, if I'm not mistaken, are not BL Heli S, and that's one thing I will say is a big knock on this quad and on Blade. Of the way things are right now, to put those outdated ESCs on this brand new product, to me, is kind of stupid. They're great ESCs, they're bulletproof, they take a beating, they work, they take a ton of amperage, but they're not, I mean, they're running literally the last thing on the list for motor protocol. That's it. It's one shot. That's the only thing you can run on them. And there's multi-shot, and then all these D-shots and all this other crap. And supposedly, I guess you can't run any of those on these ESCs. You have to run the one shot. So flash the board and reflash your ESCs so they're calibrated. You do not have to go into BL Heli Suite and do the full calibration process. If you just reflash them with the BL Heli configurator, that's going to basically do the same thing, I think. I'm not sure. Someone's probably going to tell me I'm wrong, but I didn't have any problems. That's what I did to calibrate my ESCs. I reflashed all of them and set them how I wanted them, and then boom, everything. Once I adjusted the PIDs, I feel like it's flying a lot better. I do, and it's not perfect. I have to adjust the Ds, up the D a little bit, and maybe lower my P and I just a tad, but it's almost where I want it. And for me, you know, I've been flying a 5-inch quad for 2 months, you know, if that. You know, I did have the Vortex, and but I used Final Glide's tune every time I flew it. You know, that Pro Tune was so dialed in. There was nothing. He did all the work for us, man. There was nothing I mean, there was no way if I went in there and tried to tune it myself, it was not going to perform anywhere close to where he had it. So I rolled with that every time. And quads before that, let's see, I had a GB100 that, yes, I did. That's where I learned how to set up clean, you know, with quadcopter programming and to adjust PIDs in the first place. But my first 2 inductresses were not, you couldn't load them into Betaflight or CleanFlight at all. They don't have USB ports. Now I have all these craft that are configurable. The Inductrix Pro is Betaflight configurable. The Blade Torrent110 is also configurable, and I really recommend. I'm going to do another video tonight actually on the Blade Torrent, because I think that's a very popular quadcopter right now. It has a nice price point and everything that you get with it, but it is a micro quadcopter, and it's got a cheapest plastic top. Now those things only cost $10 a pop, but you really want to get, when you buy the quadcopter, I would recommend getting 1 or 2 replacement canopies for the top, because any kind of hard impact, it's just plastic holding that, and it's going to break. And those are cheap replacements. So also there's a lot of different props you can use on it in the 2-inch range. The DYOS ones I found worked really well, but changing the PIDs will drastically change that quad's flight characteristics. They really have it dialed back for the beginner, and that quadcopter has issues with the angle and horizon. I don't even know that it has horizon. I think you have to set that up in the tabs if you want horizon. I think the way the quadcopter comes stock is, at least the ones I've gotten, or you have angle mode, air mode, and then acro without air mode, kind of just like the Theory W. And acro, I always fly with air mode, with it right in the middle in acro. I don't bother with angle, and it's such a small quadcopter. That's what makes it wonderful. You shouldn't really be flying that in angle or horizon. This is a great one to get and then learn how to fly acro. Just learn how to fly acro, and then move up to something like a 5-inch quad. To me, that is the best beginner route. You can skip the tiny whoop these days. You know, the Inductrix Pro is a great beginner one, and it's configurable, and it's only $120. But for $80 more, you get a Torrent, which is a brushless motor quad. It has a 4-in-1 ESC, Spectrum Micro F3 flight controller, is Betaflight configurable, and also comes with a Spectrum full-size telemetry receiver, which is incredible on that little thing. And that's what really sets it apart, is that telemetry receiver, because you can, if you have a DX8 or DX9, or even a DX6 or 7, you can set up RS radio strength signal indicators and alarms, so that if your signal goes down to, let's say, even 20% or 10%, you'll get alarms that buzz, and that really helps you not lose your quad. Yeah, the only real knock I have it on the Torrent is the cheap plastic hood, and they put a CMOS camera in there that is just junk. Which, what are they going to do? Put a Runcraft, a Swift Micro in there? That's what I need to swap it out, and that would be my recommendation. Once the camera goes, go get yourself a Foxy or Swift Micro and put it in there. But yeah, the Blade Torrent, I've been flying a lot, as I found that the 453S milliamp pack is the ideal pack for that quadcopter. With a regular, you don't need to switch up to some XT30 bullshit. Leave it at this JST, because weight means everything. You don't need a heavier connector. And I've never had any bottlenecking or power issues. And that 450 milliamp, get a tattoo, or my favorite is the Pulse. The Pulse is you won't believe it. Go buy the Pulse. Buy the Pulse. And get a tattoo too, so you can compare them. The tattoo is $10, the Pulse is $13.